this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the HTC 8X. This is available on 3 out of 4 US carriers. That means AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Sorry, no Sprint yet. They won't be getting their Windows phones until 2013, but very nice phone. Certainly tries to hold its own against the Nokia Lumia 920, which is a hard act to follow when it comes to smartphones, but excellent audio, especially through headphones. Very nice, high-quality display, and more. We're going to look at it now. So here it is, the HTC 8X. It's available now on 3 of 4 big US carriers. Everybody but Sprint gets the phone because Sprint's waiting until 2013 for some reason to roll out their Windows 8 phones. And the price is going to vary depending on who you get it with a bit. Now if you get it from AT&T, it's available in 2 colors, California Blue, which is what we have right here. Nice zingy blue. A little bit purple overtones, a little bit inky. Very interesting. And if you want this color, you're going to be getting the 16 gig storage capacity version. That's $199. Now AT&T also offers an 8 gig version, and that one's called Limelight, which is sort of a very zingy yellow with a little hint of lime to it. Right now we're looking at the Verizon version. That one is available in your choice of black, Verizon red, or this nice blue here, $199 with contract. And on T-Mobile, it's $149 for the 16 gig model, and you get your choice of blue, or blue. And here we have the T-Mobile version, and honestly, they are identical phones pretty much. In terms of looks and casing, certainly. One difference to note is the Verizon model has inductive charging, so that means you can use it with Qi-compatible charging plates, much like the Nokia Lumia supports the charging pillow. The other ones do not have that built into the phone. Of course, the T-Mobile version has 4G HSPA+, not LTE, because T-Mobile does not have that yet, and the other phones do offer LTE. If we take a look around the phone, it's really gorgeous design. I have to say, we have the standard capacitive buttons down here for back, home, and search. Contrasting color here with the earpiece matching the back finish on. It stands out nicely from the black bezel that we've got going on here. 1280 by 720 pixel display, so quite high resolution and 4.3 inches. This is a Super LCD 2 with Gorilla Glass 2. Nice sharp display. Sadly, not quite as good as the Lumia's though, when it comes especially to outdoor viewability, where the Lumia, like the iPhone 5, really does very well. This one does fade a bit. Doesn't look quite as color saturated and zingy. Despite the fact that this is a 4.3 inch phone, it's actually not that small, but HTC does a great job with the design. If we take a look and look at the sides, see that the curve here, or like the pyramid design, is how HTC describes it, where they actually stack the components up the back so that the edges can be thinner. So it feels and looks a lot thinner than it is. At its thickest point, it's within hundredths of an inch of being just as thick as the Lumia 920, which is a pretty big phone. It's actually a little bit taller this way than the Lumia is, and a little bit narrower. But again, beautiful design language. It looks like something you just want to touch and feel, and it looks a lot smaller. It feels pretty easy to hold in the hand. One reservation with that is the edges are fairly, I won't say sharp, they're not literally sharp, but they're very narrow and distinct, and they do dig into your hand a little bit, not as comfortable as they might be. And also it makes things like the button up here really flush, nice, that's body color matching aluminum, but really flush, hard to feel by tactile if you're just running your hand over the phone to control it, and also a little hard to push. And the same thing is true not just of the power button up top here, but of the side buttons. And right here we have our volume controls right there, and then we have the camera button over here. And this is your micro SIM card slot here, one of those little doors that you push the paperclip in and you can pop out your micro SIM to get at it. On the back, as typical for HTC's unibody phones, and this phone is a sealed design, you can't pop off the back to access the battery. There is no micro SD card slot. The Windows 8 phones do support that. You won't get that here, which leads me to say that you really should not get the 8 gig model if you intend to install a lot of apps, particularly if you want to put some videos on the phone and a lot of music. And given how great this phone sounds for music, you're going to want to put music on it. We have our 8 megapixel camera up here with LED flash, pretty much the same module that you get with the excellent HTC One X camera. That has a backside illuminated sensor, f2.0 fast lens, good camera. And on the bottom here, there's our micro USB port for charging and syncing. Got a microphone hole. Speaker grill right here, blends right in with the design. And if you don't like the jarring look of this sticker right here, you can take it off. Since it's unibody, they can't put it underneath the battery door because there's no battery door. So you can grab that and yank it right off if you don't like the look of it. And on this side, nothing. Now for those of you who are on T-Mobile, we've got the Nokia Lumia 810 over here, which competes with this phone and about the same price. And honestly, Nokia has a lot chunkier design. It doesn't have any of that elegance. Just kind of a square black brick when compared to the HTC phone. So not as styling, but one nice thing about this is you can actually take off the back and access your battery, and you can use a micro SD card. But it doesn't quite have the same cool form factor. And now we've got it next to the Nokia Lumia 920 in red, obviously. And you can see that in terms of height, they're pretty close. Let's see if I can get them lined up on the table here. And then when we stand them up here flat on the table, you can see that the HTC actually is just a hair taller, just a teeny bit, but it is narrower. If you look at it from this viewpoint right here, you can see that Lumia sticks out a little bit. And in terms of thickness, if we put them on the table, side by side, you can see where the top surface ends right here. And we're looking at almost the same thickness, even though the HTC doesn't seem nearly as thick. HTC is a lot lighter, though. You're talking about almost 2 ounces lighter, because the Lumia 920 is quite a heavy phone. It's 6.5 ounces versus about 4.6 ounces for the 8X. And lastly, comparing it to the iPhone 5 here with the 4-inch display, of course, it's going to be a smaller phone, and, well, it is a smaller phone. In terms of thickness, the iPhone 5 actually is a little bit slimmer. As you can see, there's a little jump up here to reach the top of the 8X, but the iPhone is quite a skinny phone. So once again, with Windows Phone 8, we're seeing pretty much standardization of internal hardware, much as we did with Windows Phone 7 and 7.5, but this time that's not so much of a burden because the specs for Windows Phone 7 were pretty darn low, and now they're very competitive. You're basically looking at a high-end Android phone inside of here. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 CPU inside. Benchmarks on cross-platform benchmarks like Antutu, just as fast as Android phones with the same CPU. You have a gig of RAM in here. You have, of course, Adreno 225 graphics, so it's capable to handle games and multimedia quite nicely. Always responsive. Even Windows Phone 7 running on single-core Snapdragon CPUs was. It's just a highly optimized operating system. By controlling the hardware platform so tightly, you can actually get a whole lot of fine-tuned performance, and that's what Microsoft's been doing. And again, you can get this with either 8 or 16 gigs of storage. 8 gigs is an AT&T thing only, otherwise it's going to be 16 gigs, which is adequate, but not as impressive as the Nokia Lumia with 32 gigs. Sorry to bring up that phone again, but they are competitors. In fact, this kind of reminds me of what happened when the Lumia 900 came out versus the Titan 2, and what we said about the Titan 2 is an awesome phone, and the only thing that was holding it back was the Lumia 900, which had a flashier design and some better applications that were actually quite useful. And speaking of those, one thing that's missing from here are some apps that we really find fill in gaps in Windows Phone 8, and that is Nokia Maps, Nokia Drive, and Nokia Transit, and that's free turn-by-turn directions, and you can even download maps to the phone so you don't have to use your data connection on the go. And also the very good Nokia Music, which has free streaming playlists. Of course, you can purchase music through that too. So obviously this is not a Nokia product, you're not going to get that here. Instead, you can do things like download Telenav Scout or Telenav on T-Mobile and on AT&T, or they call it AT&T Navigator on the AT&T version, or you can use VZ Navigator here, but those are pay-for monthly subscription services to get your spoken turn-by-turn directions. Now with Bing Maps, which is pre-installed, we've got maps on here, you can indeed look at maps, and you can get on-screen written directions. You just won't get a little voice telling you what to do, so you have to take your eyes off the road to actually look at the phone. In terms of Windows 8, this is your standard Windows 8 stuff right here. We've got live tile that complements the color of the phone, but you can change this to any number of colors, some which don't even conflict too badly with the nice color of the casing right here. You can get pretty zingy for Christmas time if you want. You can go with red and blue, for example, red tiles. And these are resizable. That's a new thing for Windows 8, and we've covered that in some of our other Windows 8 phone reviews. And you can do things like resize your live tiles right here. They're called live tiles, by the way, because some of them actually give you information updates. So we're going to tap that little arrow, see it makes it a quarter-size tile. Now for the settings tile, because nothing ever changes on it, it's not updating with any information, I find it's useful to make it that small. When you're done, you just press the home button. And you can make things bigger too, like we have the photos going across the entire tile right there. And then we have our usual updates. We have voicemail indicator, which will have a counter. We have email, we have SMS messages, which will all have numerical counters to tell us if we have any email waiting. And if you want to get to all of your programs, Just swipe sideways and there's your list of everything that you have installed. And if something is installed and you don't want it, say there's some carrier bloatware, though this isn't so bad, so I won't complain about that. You just press and hold and you can uninstall whatever you want, including carrier pre-installed applications. If we take a look at the HTC app, this kind of brings back their good old weather app from the days of Windows mobile phones. So we've got world weather right here. Stock market, that's kind of handy, and if you tap the plus you can add whatever stocks you want. Top news. And back to weather again. So that's the HTC Hub application. Now HTC offers some more applications, and if we go to the Windows Market, you can see HTC Apps is one of the options here. And we've got a flashlight, a photo enhancer, which kind of does some Instagram-y-like effects. You can do some color enhancements or color effects on it. Unit converter, connection setup to help you if you actually need to use roaming settings. And we've got that HTC Hub app that we just looked at. So, okay applications, but not stuff that's really killer and makes the phone a whole lot more useful than it would be otherwise. And we have the standard Windows phone dialer here, the same as you're going to see on any other phone, and it has access to things like your contacts directly and to your call history. Makes things a lot easier to do. Big buttons, easy to use, not too much to say about that. Call quality is really good for incoming voice. HTC spent a lot of time tuning voice, and it's obvious when you're using the phone. Outgoing voice sometimes sounds a little bit digitized, not the world's best outgoing voice phone that we've heard, and we've been testing on both T-Mobile and Verizon, but not a terrible phone either, but more like average for outgoing voice quality. Now, music quality, absolutely stunning. This has Beats audio, and it's not just the bass thumping Beats audio that you're thinking about here. It is a 2.5 volt amplifier for your headphones, and my goodness, it sounds really good, and quite loud too. That preamp really just makes for some loud music. It's about, say you've got your volume set at 10 on your HTC 8X, that's equivalent to about 15, and that's on a scale of 30 for volume control on this phone on the Nokia Lumia 920. So you don't want to blow your brains out with your headphones, so we're not suggesting that you do that. But if you're actually using this with a set of external speakers, you can certainly drive them quite loudly. And for music and videos, we've got the usual music and video application hub right here that we have with Windows Phone. So it shows me all the stuff that I've added most recently. And suggested downloads like the Xbox Smart Glass, which is a nice companion to your Xbox game console. Xbox Music Store, formerly known as Zune Music Store. And a list of types of media you can play. So we'll check this out. Even the built-in rear speaker is pretty loud. We're not even at quite max volume here. Just sounds nice. The headphones, wow, real treat. Clarity, not just bass thumping. You can hear things like the brush on the cymbal really clearly in the music that kind of you'll miss with the Lumia 920. So definitely a treat for you music lovers. And again, another reason to go with that 16 gig option, so you have room for plenty of music on this. If you're into the Xbox Live subscription music thing, you can actually get streaming music from the Xbox Live service. One little strange omission right now, something that we had in Windows Phone 7 but not Windows Phone 8, is video. You actually, if you've got stuff that you purchased on the Zune store, the Xbox Video Store, it's not going to come down here. And that may have to do with Microsoft's changing of DRM. They've actually made it a little bit less constricting. It's one of the reasons why it's not so difficult to use removable storage like SD cards. The encryption thing has gone away now. So if you're counting on that, that's going to be a little disappointment, but I think Microsoft is open to input on that one, and they may bring back support for streaming video from their particular service. Now, of course, you can do things like Netflix streaming on this. You can stream HTML5-based YouTube video, so you're not without any other kind of video. And you can sideload stuff. This guy has, well, obviously, the micro USB port, so you can use a Windows machine or your Mac to get content on here. You can either use the Windows Phone connector application on those platforms, or if you have a Windows machine, you can just simply plug this in and it'll load as a mass storage device now. So you can put music, videos, documents on it much more easily. It's a great improvement over Windows Phone 7. We're going to look at some locally stored video just to see how it does with playback, and we've got a 1080p video right here. Kind of overkill, considering it's not a 1080p screen. Sounds great, looks great. handles the video just fine. Now there is no MHL connector on this, so there is no ostensible way to actually get 1080p video out of this and onto your TV or your monitor. Sorry about that. And for the web browser we have IE10 Mobile. The same is true of all Windows 8 phone devices. And right now we're using the Verizon version with LTE, and we'll visit our own website. And you can see the on-screen keyboard. I always find Windows Phone has one of the better on-screen keyboards. Load times are good, and this is way improved from Windows Phone 7 browser. Much faster, much better fidelity when looking at desktop sites. Layouts are very good. SunSpider JavaScript tests excellent on this in the 900s, right up there with the iPhone 5 as the fastest phones right now for that particular test of loading. Pinch zooming, fast, responsive. You can also do double tap to just bring the current paragraph into proper alignment for reading. So it works fine. So let's check out YouTube video playback. Again, this HTML5, there is no Adobe Flash Player here on Windows Phone 8. And scrolling is good, it's not jerky, even though there's a whole lot of rich content on the page. Automatically pops out full screen, which is what most of us would want, so I like that. And we're doing this over Verizon's LTE 4G network.
We're looking at the Nokia Lumia 920 on AT&T. This is the US version for AT&T.
That's great.
4.5-inch display, LTE, available.
A nice screen though. It may not be quite as awesome as the Lumia 920 screen. Really nice sharp display. Certainly very good pixel density on this 4.3-inch display. And we've got the usual Xbox Game Hub here. Now it doesn't mean that you can play any title that exists on your Xbox console, but there are some Xbox certified games, some that can share data. And these are mobile versions. We're going to check out Sonic. So this is Sonic CD. This is a port of obviously a pretty retro game. And I'm missing my rings right and left here, but it's pretty easy to play. Certainly smooth enough. Plays just fine. That's Sonic CD. And there are more modern games available as well. And so you can see what other games are available here. Right now we're looking at the best rated kind, and this is a side-swiping UI here on Windows Phone 8, so if you want to switch to what's top free, what's new, you can do that. But we'll look at what's top rated right now. Texas Hold'em's up there. Dragon Blade X, Radiant, Wordament, Tapitude. Of course we've got some Angry Birds going on here. We have Need for Speed available as well. Tom Clancy, Assassin's Creed, Fruit Ninja, Air Hockey. Not all the same titles that you're going to see on iOS or Android. That's the one thing. So if you have your favorite games that you love on those platforms, you may or may not see them here. These tend to be a kind of different selection of games. They're pretty high quality games all in all though, I'll say that. Also on board, since this is a Microsoft product, you get Microsoft Office mobile version. You can see we have access right here to Office, and we've also got OneNote on board. Now, this does not have all the features of Surface RT or full Windows 8 Pro. It is just a mobile version, but the basics are taken care of here. So say we want to, you can also, by the way, access stuff that's you've gotten for your email, stuff you have already on your phones, things that are on SkyDrive or your Office 365 share. And we'll just open up the sample document. So here's a fairly rich looking document. Pictures and all that stuff. And if we want to go into edit mode, you tap the pencil here. And we can start typing away. And you can do things like insert images and a few other things. So again, not exactly full-featured Office, but it gets the job done and it's 100% compatible. Also new for Windows Phone 8 is the Wallet application. You can store things like your credit cards in here. This can be handy if you actually want to buy stuff from the Xbox Music Store. You want to buy some applications. And most of these support carrier billing as well if you want to buy your stuff that way. Phone has dual band Wi-Fi, 802.11b, and Bluetooth, and it has NFC. Last, we have a 2.1 megapixel front camera. As you'd expect, that's a pretty high resolution front camera. Really nice sharp video with Skype, which is downloadable from the Windows Phone store on the device. And the 8 megapixel rear camera, again, it's on par with the HTC One X, which is a very good camera. And we'll take a look at the UI now. You can get there simply by pushing the camera button, pressing and holding it. And here we have a big view of my hand right now. We'll get something a little more interesting, like Neverwinter Nights. Good camera, not so much going on in the way of software. Pretty much you're looking at the standard Windows Phone 8 UI here. So we have flash control. We'll look at all of our photo settings. Effects. Grayscale, negative sepia, solarize, those kind of things. Resolution, 6 megapixel. We want to go with 8 megapixel, of course, which is the maximum. White balance, exposure, saturation, sharpness, ISO. So a reasonable amount of things there, but not quite as fancy as the HTC One X has. And if you want to snap a picture, just press the camera button, and there we have it. And if you want to record, just press that button again, and now we're recording some not terribly exciting video, but hey, gets the job done. Move it up, move it down. 1080p video at 30 frames per second. When lighting is good, and that's where the Lumia 920 pulls ahead. It's particularly good at low light photography. Now this has a backside illuminated sensor and a fast lens too. It should be, but it gets grainy. It doesn't capture the detail the Lumia does for low light situations, and you drop down to 15 frames per second when you're shooting dark scenes at night with the camera. Still, it's pretty capable and it's pretty sharp camera. It's nothing to complain about. And we'll take a look at our sample photo. See, here you can see, you just swipe back and you look at the video that we shot, which obviously there's not much going on there, but records audio but not very loud. A little hard to hear that. And you can just barely hear that audio. And here's a photograph that we took in kind of not super good lighting, and has a reasonable amount of detail and color here. You can see the scene on the urn pretty well, a little bit of blurring there. You can actually see the texture on the wall in the back, so certainly not bad. If you've got good lighting, you get a pretty good picture. Again, it's just in fairly dark settings where this doesn't do quite as well as the Lumia 920. Overall, decent camera. And unlike the HTC One X and other Android phones, there is no capturing photos while simultaneously shooting video here on Windows Phone 8 right now. The HTC 8X has a 1800 milliamp battery that is sealed inside, so that means you can't pop in another one. That's a pretty good capacity battery. Most high-end smartphones these days with LTE have somewhere 1800 to 2100 milliamps. The Nokia Lumia 920 has a 2000 milliamp battery, but 1800 we're finding is pretty good to power yourself through the day. Again, both on the T-Mobile, which is 4G, just HSPA+, and the LTE Verizon device. Absolutely no problems with battery life there. The operating system does support multitasking. If you want to get a list of all your currently running applications, just press and hold the back button and you can swipe through and pick the one that you want to go over to. So if you want to go back to Office, there we are back in Office. If you want to start up voice commands, which are fairly capable, not Siri-like with artificial intelligence and all that, but you can do basic commands and you can do web searches and stuff like that. Press and hold the Windows key. What is Microsoft stock at today?
Searching for what is Microsoft stock at today.
And here's our listings, and we have a sponsored ad from Bing at the top because Bing is the default search engine here, and then we actually have a stock quote available right there. So we click through and we get our stock information. You can also use this to call folks and to launch applications. Reasonably capable. And then we have the search button over here. It brings up Bing search and you can search the web. That'll be the first option right here. And then you can get local deals on stuff. Search for what's playing in theaters. News, all sorts of useful things going on. And then we have Local Scout, which is standard for Windows Phone 8 too, which I like a lot. Tells you all sorts of stuff that's going on around you. Where to eat and drink, sights to see in the area, shopping, and customized search once you start to use it for a while. So a pretty handy device to actually help you get by and get around in town. So that's the HTC 8X, one of the nicest Windows phones currently on the market. Does it beat the Lumia 920? That's a tough one right there, but still, if you're looking for a phone that's a little easier to hold, has a nice soft touch finish, very cool colors, and really good audio through headphones, it's worth a look. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full review of the HTC 8X, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.